Welcome to the His and Hers podcast. I was trying to do it. It
Doing a
didn't.
snake.
I was trying to. It didn't work.
Got that
The
snake.
His and Hers podcast, episode 7. Don't. I'm gonna practice that, and I'm gonna have it for the next one. All right. The His and Hers podcast, episode 7. I am Dante Grace,
Golly.
and joining me we got Sherelle Lewis. How you doing, girl?
Beautiful. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. You looking good. You glowing. You know what I'm saying. Good to see you. And tonight we just wanted to come say hey, and do what we always do. Try to figure out life, right? Isn't that really, I guess, what we try to do on this show? We try to figure out life.
Yes, we do. That
Okay,
is what life, all of life,
all
not
of
just one
life,
thing, all
like the
of it.
whole the whole life. Well, good, good. Well, do you have anything that is pressing, or this is a real heads up, um, topic list show today. We didn't talk about anything that we were going to do on this show. So, do you have anything that you would like to discuss this evening?
Well, reaching back into a conversation that we had the other day,
Yeah.
and something I've been working on for my personal blog when we were talking about not staying in situations that are not serving you.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we can go there.
You know,
Mm.
Um, I was thinking about, and we taking it out of the relationship realm today. My piece that I'm writing about, it's actually entitled "Running Away Saved My Life," and
Ah,
um,
interesting.
and it was about, I was for 3 years, I was a teacher, a high school teacher, and a high school athletic trainer at the same time, and I was actually working at two totally different schools.
Mm.
And what was happening was I got burnt out very, very quickly.
Yeah.
I'm talking about leaving my house at 5:30 in the morning
Right.
and sometimes not getting back home. Football season Friday night, if we had to go up to Cartersville, Georgia, I wasn't getting home till 2 o'clock in the morning. So 5 a.m. to 2 a.m.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then, high school sports ain't how they were when I was in
Mm-mm.
high school.
Mm-mm. Right.
There are games on Saturdays.
Yeah.
There are practices on Sundays.
Yeah.
It was a 7 day a week job
Yeah. It
just to
evolved.
be the athletic trainer,
Yep. Yep.
and so a lot goes into being a high school teacher as well,
For sure.
especially I was teaching a specialty class. I was a sports medicine, human
Mm.
anatomy and physiology teacher.
Okay.
Like, that's intense. That's kind of like college level work for a lot of these
Yes.
kids. You know what
Yes.
I'm saying?
Right. It's
So I
anatomy,
was doing
physiology,
all of
all of that.
that, and I was trying to keep everybody happy, but I was in a city where I felt like I had nobody. I mean, I
Mm.
had a handful of people that if it wasn't for them, I probably would have broken,
Right.
but the handful was that big for me to have been there for 4 years.
Mm.
And it felt like, especially in my athletic training job, more so, that so many people were against me because I was in a small town where mostly everybody from that town is from that town.
Okay.
And
Right.
even if they hated each other, they'll come together
Uh huh.
to hate you.
Uh
They
huh.
don't know you. You
Uh
ain't one
huh.
of us.
Right.
And
It was
it's
a
kind of like,
community,
family stuff. Like,
very
I
tight
can
knit
talk about my
community.
family, but you bet not.
Right. Right. Very tight knit
So,
community.
yeah. So, and I ended up in the hospital. My last year there, I ended up in the hospital with blood pressure at stroke levels.
Mm.
At that time, I was 33 years old.
Wow.
No, no, I don't know. How old am I? 33, 34 years old. But I was in the hospital with high blood pressure. And I was actually supposed to be,
Right.
that night that I went to the hospital, I had an open house at the school that I taught at.
Mm.
But I also had a basketball game at that same time at my other school. And I was expected
Mm-hmm.
to be both places.
Right. Right.
And there's more details in there, but I will protect the guilty. Um, but I was killing myself
Yeah,
trying to
literally.
stay in this place that I was supposed to be. I mean, I had a great salary and I had my own, I had my own, I was just doing my thing. And like,
Yeah.
that's where I was supposed to be, especially at my
Yes,
age.
exactly. You feel like you're checking the boxes and that you're successful because that's what the
They said,
culture and the world says
right.
are the things that you need to be doing to be successful. Because we're grinding, hustlers don't sleep, and
I'll
we
sleep
out
when I
here
die.
25/7, and yeah, yeah, hustlers do
So
sleep.
like, it was bad. And I lost a relationship during that time,
Mm,
and that didn't help.
yeah.
And I was in a I didn't want to be here place.
Mm,
I was in a I don't want to be here place. And it was because I went to that city that I stayed for 4 years.
yeah.
Here's the thing: I went to that city to run away from somebody.
Wow. Well, you sure ran. Uh,
I ran, and that I learned a very valuable lesson: don't run
right,
away.
right, right. So let's talk
But
about
in
the
that case, it saved my life.
so let's talk about the running away to save yourself part. What was the
Mm.
moment that uh, and how did it happen and where you finally just ran away? What was the running away and what was the part where because I'm sure it never feels like you're doing the right thing at that moment. And we'll get into my running away in a second, but it never feels like you're doing the right thing at that moment. But later on, or at some point, it always happens where you feel like, yes, you know what? I was saving my sanity. I was saving myself. So talk about that. What was that moment where it finally came crashing down or whatever when it ended?
That moment came to me in January of that year.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my coworker got into it
Mm.
bad, bad.
Mm.
And I was like, I can't do this anymore. So that's when I got to that point in the teaching job, because I got to that point in the athletic training job just a little bit before then. And it
Okay.
was because, again, protecting the guilty, I can't say too much, but suffice it to say, I was under the biggest microscope, as zoomed in as you can
Mm.
see
Mm-hmm.
in that situation. And I was often made to look incompetent.
Yes.
I was often made to look like the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying I was perfect, like I had my flaws there,
Mm.
but you would think that I was the worst athletic trainer on this
Right.
planet.
Your mistakes, or not mistakes, but your things that could have been, ooh, I feel this. Things that could have been dealt with one way as like a teachable moment or just kind of like, education were actually dealt with more like a disciplinary a violation. And that's always like that. That's how you can tell when you've lost the support of your boss or of your team or something like that. When if you make a mistake or if you ask a question or if something like that happens, and instead of using it, because when somebody cares about you, they're going to discipline you with love or they're going to try to correct you in a way that keeps the relationship good. But when you're out on someone or you're done with someone, you're not supporting them, you're just gonna use everything against them. It's gonna be used as the worst thing. Oh man, you've been here 9 months and you still doing this. You still putting the tape in the locker instead of the drawer. We don't put the tape over here. We put the tape in here. Okay, really, was that really a big thing? But yes, because it was something that could have been dealt with small, it actually became big.
Well, see, that's the funny thing. I was never disciplined. It wasn't that. It was stuff that I found out that people didn't know I found out. See, that place I was at was very sneaky. And even though people are going to get offended by this, but I don't care, the covert racism in that
Oh,
city
absolutely, yeah.
is disgusting. And I mean this with every fiber of my being. Almost there was so many times on almost every job I have had, being in the deepest part of the deep south.
Right.
The
Right.
only issue I've ever had in any job has always been a middle-aged Caucasian woman.
Okay. Yep.
Every single time.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody else is
And
cool,
right,
but you got
like
this
the dude,
one
let me
person.
tell you, middle-aged white men love me. They freaking love me.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Not like that, but like seriously,
Yeah.
like
No,
we
no,
just,
I know what you're saying. Yes.
but that was, it was just a moment where I was like, I'm never gonna have support, because I'm never gonna have support here,
Right.
and it was always gonna be the black girl is a good scapegoat. And what didn't help was that I looked much younger than
Right.
my age.
Right.
I mean, I remember one time, one of the ways I practice as an athletic trainer, especially when it comes to like big injuries where I know the kids and I know they're going to freak out, I utilize my wit and my humor to kind of break it up.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because the thing
Mm-hmm.
is, you want your patient to be relaxed so you can do what you got to do.
Sure. Sure.
So I go up, I get to a game, and one of my girls went down for soccer, and I went to check her. And I know this chick, she's freaking out, and I know whatever happened was not that bad. I dealt with that girl for 4 years.
Mm.
I knew what it was. So I get there, and she was a Caucasian young lady from a very wealthy family,
Okay.
and her grandparents were there. So I get there, and I make her giggle, and then I start doing my job, and I hear her grandmother. Does she know what she's doing?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I was like,
Of course. Of
am
course you're
I,
gonna question me, you know.
and but I got that a lot. And
Yeah.
at first I thought, I was like, maybe it really is me, until I left there.
Right.
And I have not had that situation since I
Right.
left there.
Right. Sometimes
So
it's like,
it's like, I felt bad because I've never quit a job. If
mm,
I've left a job, it's because I've always had something set up. In this instance, for the first time in my life, I quit 2 jobs with nothing
oh,
lined
okay.
up
Uh-huh.
whatsoever.
Uh-huh.
And again, I was a state employee
Right.
with great
It's
benefits.
hard. That's hard
And
to walk
and
away
Georgia takes
from.
care of its teachers. If nothing else,
Yeah.
Georgia actually takes care
Yeah.
of its teachers. So I had a great salary too.
Right. Right. Great
I had
salary, great
nothing.
benefits. That's hard to walk away from, And I will say I am newly in this situation because, and I haven't let anyone know this on my social media or anybody in my life, but I just put in my 2 week notice at my current job, which was at one point was my dream job. And I work at a university slash medical school, the only medical school in the whole state of Oregon. We're the only med school in the state, so we are it when it comes to we operate half as a hospital and half as a med school. So it's higher education, it's collegiate, but it's also a hospital and a service provider, a healthcare provider, right? And it, I do HR, so I'm in corporate. I'm in the offices and I'm behind the desks and stuff like that. So when you spoke about racism, it really touched a nerve on me because I really have experienced that too. And whenever we point out racism, no one wants to believe that that's what it is. Racism, you can't prove it unless the person is getting caught recorded saying the N word or, red-handed hand in the cookie jar. That's the only time that people will believe that racism is at play. But we all know that racism is not all. I mean, 95% of racism is not cross burning in your front yard. That's just the most extreme expression of racism. But racism appears, especially in my experiences, as microaggressions, little things in the workplace where little power games that you start to experience, and people play these games and you have to play along with them, and if you don't, then you begin to put yourself on the opposite side of the playing field, right? And so that's why I really felt what you were saying. Well, when I was talking about when you lose the support of the people that you are supporting in your team, when things start to become not a teachable moment, but actually a violation. That's what I had started to experience at my job, right? So I had been there, I've been there for 6 months. And when I first started at this job, you know what they told me? Oh, this job is so complex. Even at 6 months, you are not going to have it all down. You're still going to have questions. You're still going to be making mistakes. That's okay. Allow yourself to, learn the position and all that stuff, right? That's what they tell you to kind of
Yeah.
get you, relaxed and buying in, right? But now that I'm at 6 months, and since I've flipped that switch and I'm no longer supported by my team, you know what I'm hearing? Well, Jonte, you've been here 6 months. Why are you still asking questions about this? You've been here almost 7 months. We shouldn't still have to be going over this, or that's what it flips to, where it goes from a teachable moment to a violation, or I stopped asking questions because my questions were interpreted as if I did not know what I was doing. They were interpreted as a sign of incompetence. I was just asking for confirmation. I knew the answer, and I never asked the open-ended question, who do I send this to? I'll always try to make an educated guess. I'll say, hey, this needs to go over there to benefits, right? So I try to solve the issue on my own. But when you ask a question to something that they feel is common knowledge, they interpret it as if, oh, you're still asking questions about that? Well, 6 months ago, that was okay. So I say that to say that I had begun experiencing that other side of my staff and my coworkers and my management. And whenever you start to experience that, you know that you have to be perfect from that point on, because any type of shortcoming, any type of mistake is always going to be held up as proof that a you're not you're not doing well in this job, or that it's time to they'll start to question whether or not you are the right person for that position. So things have started to happen to the point where one time I got a written warning. I've only been there at this point for 4 months. They called me virtually, and they had a list of things that had been observed and documented about my conduct in the office, in the work, not in the office, but because we work remote, but just my conduct. And some of those things were so subjective. One of those things said, he appears to not be paying attention during team meetings and Zoom calls and things like that. And in my mind, I'm like, how do you know whether I'm paying attention or not? Like, I got three screens. Yeah, I'm not going to look at the camera all the time, because maybe I got y'all up over here, so I'm looking over here. But, things like that, that just kind of were like, this is bullshit, but that's the thing about racism out here, out west. It's a different brand of racism. And I say that because the people out here don't believe that they're racist. So it's even worse than, well, I won't say it's worse than Southern racism, but the Southern brand of racism is, I don't like you. I'm not going to pretend that I like you. You're going to know that I don't like you. I will work with you if I have to, and we'll interact when we have to, but you
It's very actually, you'd be surprised. It's extremely covert down here. Like you don't
okay.
know. You
Yeah.
don't like, and I mean when I say this, I'm saying it like I had a person that I worked with that I knew she did not like me because I was black. I knew it,
Mm-hmm.
but they adopted a black son. That's how that
Ah.
racism down here
Oh
works.
yeah, the
Because
old.
remember, this part of the South, it's all about athleticism.
Right. That's supposed to
So
erase all of the.
they love the black
Of
kids
course,
that they can make money
of
off of.
course.
The Like even you look at the universities and stuff down here, it's like that.
Very
Like
true.
there, if you look at the student
Very
body
true.
at Auburn and Alabama,
Right.
the majority of the student body is not represented by the athletes that you see on the TV.
Right. Absolutely.
Like
Absolutely.
not even as not even a
Absolutely.
small percentage.
Even
It's
at Oregon, the
terrible.
majority of the people of color at Oregon were the athletes, but they were that's it. That was all the black people that were at the school. The rest of the school, the whole student body population is all white and Asian, you know. And at the parties, they used to be like, "Hey, so what sport do you play?" Like I literally used to get asked that question as an icebreaker because it was so rare to see a black person that was a student at the school that they would just automatically assume that I was playing something, and when you tell them, no, I don't play nothing, or I'm just a student, that turns off the special privilege that you were about to have. It's just like, oh, oh. But yeah, this covert, the covert racism in the workplace is a real thing, and you can't prove that that is linked to racism, and so that's why I don't like to use that as the reason,
Right.
but
Right.
I work in a heavily female and heavily white industry. Human resources is very female dominated. So you have to deal with a lot of personalities, right? And so, navigating that, I've been pretty successful, but there are times where I do feel that either my maleness or my black maleness is rubbing someone the wrong way. And I don't mean to do it, but if I'm being me, sometimes I'm going to maybe say something a little bit more direct, but it's all in the interest of getting the work done and being the best, employees that we can be. I'm not trying to hurt anyone's feelings, but sometimes when you call out something, you're actually calling out someone's work, and so yes, there have been times where just in a work environment, I have ruffled feathers and didn't even know. And from that
Mhm.
time forward, I have experienced,
Mhm.
I've just experienced a different energy from the coworkers,
Right.
and that's where I had gotten at this place. This place was a dream job. I had applied here for years trying to get in. And when I got in, I found out that this organization is struggling with so many issues of discrimination, racism, and hostility in the workplace. They just had a lawsuit that they lost. You know how hard it is to prove racism in a lawsuit, but they lost the lawsuit,
Wow.
and they had a reputable national law firm come in and do a review, and the report that was issued concluded that yes, all of the claims of racism, bias, and over punishment and things like that, it was more than founded. We have 1% of black people at this place of work. Out of 20,000 employees, there is only 1% black. Did you know black people contributed to 68% of the terminations? How can 1% of the population be 68% of the people getting fired? So
Right there.
rather than be
Right
one of
there.
those,
Right.
rather
It's
than be
true.
rather than be one of those people, and that's just because, rather than using it as a teachable moment, you punish it and you take the disciplinary route. And that's with
Mhm.
anybody. Yeah, with little Johnny or Billy or Alice or Brittany. Yeah, of course, when they make a mistake, you're gonna be like, oh, you know what, that's okay. Like, no, let me course correct you and let me help you, be successful. But when it's Jer Cedric or that was an ugly ass black name.
Woo! Oh my god, that was painful. Oh
That,
my
that was
god, that
painful.
hurt.
That was painful.
That
So
one
we're
hurt.
gonna go with it.
Woo.
So when it was Jer Cedric or Jonte,
Ah,
it's up here. It's hey Jer Cedric. We're gonna have to talk to you
ah.
at 10 o'clock. I knew you was gonna like that name.
Jesus. Oh my God, that was so
That
cringy.
was yeah. That was cringe. That was
But
cringe.
like you're not wrong, and that's the whole thing. And with one of my employers, I was told, "Yo, this was by a black employee, and this employer also did not
Mm,
employ that many black folks."
mm-hmm.
I was told by this black employee, "Yo, watch out. Black females do not survive in this company. They never stay. Ever, ever, ever." I stayed with that company
Wow.
for 10 months.
Wow. Well, you survived
And
longer than
so
most people did. Then 10 months
I
is
did. But like and see, but that's the thing, and that's the problem that we're coming back to is, we
absolutely
it's been instilled in us so much. You got to work hard. You got to stick it out. You just got to
yes,
take your
yes.
bumps and
Stick it
bruises.
out.
This is
Right,
part of the job.
right.
And that's been ingrained into us so bad that we stay and stay and stay, and we're miserable. And I tell this
To our
even when I
detriment.
was as a teacher and as an athletic trainer for secondary schools, I told kids all the time, yes, it is important to have a job that helps you pay the bills because that's just part of our society. At the same time, it is more important to have a job that is not going to kill you. Because right now, this job I've had a few jobs and I've loved most of my jobs, but this job right here, I love it. And it's not because of where I'm employed, it's because of who I'm employed with. Today, I went to work for 4 hours. I laughed for 3.5 hours today. Like, all we do is have fun. We get work done. Like, don't like we get work done. But we have fun and we bring our patients in with it so they feel it in the environment. And it's just a welcoming, calm environment. So when I say I don't want to go to work, and I was telling my auntie this the other day, it's not that I don't want to go to that place, it's that I don't feel like getting in my car and driving. Because once I get there, I love it. I have fun. I've met some great people already. So like it's really important to find that balance. You know what I'm saying? Because we come from a hardworking family. Like people in our family work into their 80s. Like they absolutely do. You know what I'm saying? My uncle, your grandfather, my granddad, all like we are a hardworking family. It's just in our DNA. So when we think about quitting a place, it almost goes against what who we are because we weren't taught to quit. And we're not quitting. What we're doing is transitioning to something better for us. You know what I'm saying? And I took a pay cut. And a lot of people don't know this part. When I left Georgia, I took a $30,000 pay cut just so I could get myself together. I was blessed enough. Yeah. I was blessed enough to have a family that my dad said, if you got to come home, you can come home. I was blessed enough to have that. But I mean, a $30,000 pay cut at 35 years old, I had grown up bills. No, no. $30,000. Like that's some people's actual salary, you know? So it's it was hard, but now that I am 3 years removed from that time, I can say without a shadow of a doubt that it was worth it, and that's why I was so proud of you when you had told me, especially when you say this was a dream job. Because there is nothing it's like what they say about meeting your heroes. That is like the worst thing in the world because you had them up here on this pedestal and you see that they're down here in the gutter with everybody else. Mhm. It is. We actually I'm in a group with other athletic trainers, and we were talking about that because when we're coming up, because we are that generation that came up at a very, very interesting time, a transition in the history of our country. Very, very interesting transition. So we were raised by the people that said you're not allowed to jump from job to job. But we're the adults now that are seeing that the adults that did that are the adults that are getting to where they want to be, while the rest of us are sitting up here like, oh no, I did it right. Looking like a straight clown. But like you gotta, I know I have a friend. This heifer can't keep a job for longer than 2 years because she don't like it. But let me tell you, this heifer making a good six-figure salary with a bachelor's degree. And I'm sitting up here doing it right with two master's degrees. And I'm like, dang, these ramen noodles is good today. Like, you know? Right. And she ain't have a problem leaving it. She knew her worth well enough to leave it. And we honestly, our society taught us when we were younger not to know our worth. They were going to tell us our worth. And now we're transitioning again. And I'm loving the new transition, but it's hard. It's hard to fight that mentality that's been beat into your head for 30 years, you know? Mm. With a quickness. I think you said it, just when the thought hits you, listen to it. Like, one thing is your intuition, your gut, the spirit, whatever you wanna call it, is not gonna lead you wrong. If you ain't supposed to be there, you gonna feel it, and if you keep fighting that feeling, you're gonna end up like me or worse. Night.